that your own nuclear family is meant to grow obese with its love for you and its nourishment, and like the red giant of the sun, is anticipated and presaged by the destiny attributed to the sun, by the so-called astronomer, or the Astor of money, the torture of the sun, the Astor. An aster is the torture of the sun. The stars are asters. They're to help torture the sun. Actors are asters. Stars, right? Actors are asters, right? A C can be an S. It's the third letter. A C. An actor is an astor, and an aster is a star. In astronomy, it's of the sun. It's something that Saul did before he turned into. Either way, you're fucked. From the police to the people you call your teachers. Economically starved retards that are there to fill your empty mind with increasingly useless entities, if not content, of so-called knowledge, so that you lose your taste for thinking and begin to see all of your development is bound together with working in close-knit groups. One of the reasons I dropped out of university science program is that without telling you, I came into an environment where there's no way you could succeed unless you tied your raft to other people and find out how to solve various problems. The teacher wouldn't really tell you how to do it. You'd have to go ask someone else in class. Very smart, eh? Very cunning. But they never admitted it. They were like black witches. It was just built right into the system. They maybe even didn't know what they were doing. So you're paying for a class where you're supposed to basically do all the work yourself. Right? They're totally fucking. So I went to this astronomy class, this second-year class, and the first assignment was construct your own experiment to measure how far the moon is away from the Earth. And it's like, how would you know how to do that? Never taken astronomy in my life. Barely knew anything about spherical trig. And all I did impotently was try to figure out how to measure where the moon was right last night. Time, how long it took there to get there again. I don't know. It was just ridiculous. Right? And then try to incorporate to the apparent drift of the Earth's position given certain changes, how long it took to go and reach the same point in the sky. It was ridiculous. Right? And as that might sound in the most forgiving sense, I completely blundered in every possible way. When talking about computers who doesn't know how to use them, it's like, well, I'm just going to get the hard drive hooked up and slave to various transistor systems and computational neptoids. It was nothing. I got 0 or whatever. It's like, I just dropped the class. I'm just like, what is this? It's a form of social hazing. It was math too. It didn't matter if you had tutors or whatever the heck they had. You could work unless you got together in study groups. Right? You couldn't do it. It's impossible. Right? I was an excellent student, but I couldn't keep up with the pace. It's like, holy fuck. It's like going to French class for the first time. And the first class is like, oui, woo, and then the second class is like, well, we're going to France tomorrow. I'm expected to speak fluent French. Because the language you need is a social language. You had to basically pool the resources of people around you. You had to use them. You had to form relationships based on what they could do for you to help you pass the class. And if you didn't know what to do, what were you supposed to do for them? Become submissive. Now your education didn't depend on coming to class and going to work. It came on becoming submissive to your classmates. And to approach them in desperation and say, how do I pass this class? So they can tell you the unspoken rules about how to do that. What you learned. Because they were in that university the first year, right? And they all come from economically more improved families. So they kind of speak that language already. So basically I was weeded out. And fully. I was basically told that this wasn't a safe place for me. And I remember always I went to go student status or whatever. You drop out of school, and this nice white woman. There are always these nice white women. Oh, are you sure you want to do this? She's all nice and I think, yeah, I'm sure. She doesn't want to know why you're doing it or anything, because she's a sociopath. She works for the system. She's really nice. She's probably financed or funded her retirement by now. Just having nice conversations with people whose lives I know nothing about, and nor do I care. School is wonderful. I tell myself that every day. The University of Victoria is a special place, and we do nothing but wonderful things. And in every white institute, there's always these white women with these smiles plastered on their faces, and nothing is ever wrong, and everything's wonderful. And just completely, not just brainwashed, they're blood-washed. I mean, they're just incontinent android baboons. They don't have an original thought in their life when they're even taking a shit. Right? Not a peep comes out of their mouth that hasn't been pre-programmed. They can make a YouTube channel of them taking a shit, and you would watch it, because you'd forget they're even taking a shit. They'd show you how to fucking braid their fucking pubic hair for children in Africa. And then you do another cross stitch, and I can't see my clitoris anymore. Wait a second. Let's get a few of these loops back in here. This might happen from time to time. Ooh, that's exciting. They could talk to you about anything. They could tell you the doctor is not in, but he said that you're dying. They could deliver any information. They're cold-blooded. Their empathy is that of the group, and it is masked by the incredible aspirations of the group to show you an industrially magnified level of love and competence that doesn't have to involve being human anymore. Right? This is the cybernetic industrial schizoid. And the more convinced of how wonderful and everything is, the more sadistic they become. Right? Do you think I thought that having a conversation with that woman about the types of difficulties I was having as a straight A student on full scholarship, completing even the first week of an astronomy class, or a class on matrices or anything else, on top of which I just lost my interest in school completely. I mean, I'm not stupid, man. It's ridiculous, I knew a white man from a higher economic status who had a part-time job and was fulfilling the rigors of his classes. And he wasn't nearly as smart as I was, but he had more social skills, right? And so, wham, I was lucky in a way that wall finally came down, because it was bound to come in at some point, right? It was presaged since kindergarten that it wasn't about learning. It was about group psychology, right? My kindergarten teacher showed us her vagina. The first female secretary in first elementary school when I came to this country, using her vagina to ruin the life of the children of the principal of the school. Her furry little beautiful Bermuda Triangle was basically a disgusting monster that was ruining like a cancer the home of a young boy who was a friend, right? But she had this wonderful face. Hello, how are you? Then she would get out her flabby little clothes and pour a glass of wine. And the hubby would come over and he would grind his fucking tiny little penis into like a beautiful human pencil sharpener. And her flabby celluloid fucking ass would move back and forth. And her tits would pendulously move over his hungry mouth as he fucking sucked every last ounce of trust and honor those children deserved into her ravenous womb. And she didn't even have any children. But she was a secretary of Godson Elementary. And you meet these white women everywhere. When you go into local civic buildings, you go into dental offices, police stations, you name it, mental services, social services, government services, everywhere. I tell you, I've met bears, I've met cougars. These women scare me more because you can't reason with them. They have no empathy for anyone except what is determined by the theatrical environment in which they live and take their life, their retirement. They have every reason to be loyal because it's given them a life, right? Everyone respects them. They can go make photocopies of your fucking transcript. They can set up appointments with the principal to discuss the errant wiles of your 6-year-old boy. But nothing will ever cross their lips that didn't make a virulent, real concern for the life of any child that ever passes by their midst. Not in 20, not in 50 years. And when they're off in some old age home talking about all the wonderful children they got to help and be a part of their lives, someone will lean over and say, "You can stop, you know. Nobody fucking gives a shit anymore." And she'll just smile and laugh, and drool will come out of her mouth. And she'll have a stroke and be liberated from the world. You know, do you really want that? You know how many retired teachers I've seen dying? You know what comes out of their mouths? And the energetic pus that comes out of their skin and their liver? And how charged with rage they are? Because they never got to be themselves. They were like happy little jail keepers. Like layers of armor in the sarcophagus of their personality complex. They never had voices of their own. And never would. So how can they care about yours or that of any child? They're a different creature. They're a new man. Right? They're like parasites. Yuck. Right? But they work in institutions. They're like hamsters, rodents. They believe every theory that crosses their desk that makes life's biggest problem in human suffering into something that can be solved by a quippy little experiment they did that showed that rats would gladly give up their addiction to cocaine if they had enough civic-minded activities to occupy themselves throughout the day. And what does that tell you? That everyone just needs something to do, or that being part of society is better than cocaine in solving life's problems in ways that are probably a little bit more complex than just doing your job in the theater of economic human agony. And the principles and the aims and directives to save the world and give it cleaner water. And Matt Damon comes out and says, "Water is good. I like to let little African babies drink. Look, I make water out of my nipples." If you can put on a good show, you can save the world. My first grade teacher used to smile at me like she wanted to just eat me. She had little dimples. I'm sure she was used to men liking her smile. And she always used to have you come up to her desk and get her beautiful little check marks. She had quite that check mark. She really got it down. It was like pure love. Tick, tick, tick. Boy. She had when to come up, when to sit down. She gets to move your body around like sociopaths. Like they want to move you around. They want to tell you what to do. And if it's just their job, they don't really feel any inhibitions about doing so. Now come here, Landon. Here's your check mark. You can go sit down now. Good boy. Thanks. Oh, thanks, Mrs. Bitch. I'm your little doggy. I'm your little doggy. I'm a 200 IQ child, but thanks to you for giving me that tiny little check mark, like a reverse Lagoo symbol. It means something's wrong in the waters of your womb. My 9th grade teacher died giving birth. 10th grade teacher. She was a sadist. Miss Selinsky. Not Mrs. Selinsky, Miss Selinsky. I think the baby choked itself, or wrapped it in one of her arteries and choked her to death. That's what her own baby thought of her, you know? Right? Choked her to death because the way she was choking us to death, right? She even had us study a story about a young man who's all by himself and ends up killing himself. He's an usher at a theater house, but he has never got the guts to strut across the stage. And so one day he decides to just kill himself, and the whole story is about his subliminal plan to finally put an end to his own life. My 9th grade teacher was a psychopath who used to strike desks with a canoe paddle in order to scare the living shit out of us. When people were relaxed in the room, he gave us a book to read called Death Watch. It was all about a nice young man taking a hunter out in the desert to go find prey, and the nice young man turns into the prey. And you have to learn not about how psycho could just start hunting human beings, but the nature of inner and outer conflict. You know, how really his real danger was being his own worst enemy. Not that some people are psychopathic and sadistic murderers, That was a lovely book, wasn't it? First grade teacher was a lesbianic looking, I love lesbians, but a lesbianic looking um, professional paddler. She must have done rowing in college or something. Short hair, tiny little breasts that she put on ample display to 14-year-old boys sitting in the class, all with hormones coursing through their blood. She gave us a book called Have Spacesuit Will Travel, about going off by yourself in a magical spacesuit. Wow. Kind of a nice place to go when you're stuck and trapped in a room with a woman that you don't really want to fuck, but you're not sure if she wants to fuck you. But she looks like she should be in, like, I don't know, some sort of burlesque show when she slowly peels off whatever she's decided to wear that day and slide like a canoe through some sort of ethereal water. You know, Miss Oliver. Also single, obviously. Probably still single, wherever that bitch is. And so these books you're reading, right? My grade 7 teacher, Mr. Dix, gave us a book about a young man who wants to climb up a mountain, but he suffers anxieties about being just dead weight because he's not old enough to really carry his weight. But he tries so hard to the point of almost dying that from his hospital bed, they give him some binoculars and they show that they planted an article of his clothing, like a flag, on the top of the mountain to say, hey, in spirit, you made it, even though you're a useless piece of shit. And that was the whole purpose of the book. When I had a chance to find my own book to read and do a report in grade 10 with Miss Zelinsky, I chose a book about the Inuit I'd found in my public library. It was the most favorite project I ever did. Okay. It's amazing what happens when you can pick your own literature. I liked being a cultural anthropologist. I wanted to read something real, about real people really surviving in the world, including the people who suffer the most from the people that Miss Zelinsky worked for, which is probably why her own child wanted to choke her to death before they were born. Probably just a drowning man will hang on to anything, even one of your mother's arteries. She made me do public speaking, a form of torture, of course. And when I'd finally done it in front of the class, she decided to have me do it in front of all the classes because I'd done such a good job. Which even more, I had to do it again. It was the last year of public speaking. I thought I was done of all public speaking, and then she made me do it. Went down to the theater room of all places. That's right, to get on a podium and to give a speech about tabloids. That's what I'd read about. Just enough to have something to say, not enough to make it to. But an actress who took the case, took the cup. An actress got up in front of the school and did a report on Helen Keller, a famous deaf-blind female actor, piece of shit, who was neither blind nor deaf, but just a mason. And of people who, however blind, are still better than you. A lovely speech, very stirring. She was a natural. She was an actress. She loved the theater program. She loved being someone else. What a wonderful world it is. Being someone else other than yourself frees up other things that would make the springs so much more the springs. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, do do do, la 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 la. So that's English teachers, and my grade 11 English teacher just moved like the parts of his body were all on springs, and everything was just staying together like an action figure. His body just would, his neck, his head would bob, his hands would move, his pants never really seemed to stay on properly, his tummy in weird ways. He would make sort of hiccup sounds with his mouth, and he gave us a ride on the Western Front. That's a bloody book, isn't it? And then we read, I think we saw Death of a Salesman, and they showed us the video, and that one with Petruchio. What's that play with Petruchio? When he's got that real shrew of a wife that doesn't want to talk. The Taming of a Shrew, yeah. That's the shit. The Taming of a Shrew. That's the shit. So, good guy. I later learned that Heather Dick, who sat in the middle of the room, became a stripper. Yay! And my 10th grade French teacher was having dinners with male class members, kind of like dates with children. It's okay, it was totally consensual. Their parents liked it. She favored certain precocious young men, older than their years. She used to wear too much makeup, always happy and friendly, but kind of passive-aggressive. If you were late to class, you had to use French to tell people exactly where you were. So I had a friend from elementary school named Kyle Keneally, and legend has it that he came to class after lunch one day, and she said, "You got to tell us why." "Okay. Je m'excuse d'être en retard parce que I had to take a shit." Everyone laughed. Way to stitch that language together, hey? Humiliating, but good. Educational. And all these white women are going, "That's a good education, because you're learning how to speak in French and also enforces boundaries. Makes you think on your feet, hey?" Ah, yes. Taking a shit. I knew there was a reason I never used public washrooms in school, but you might have to tell somebody what you're doing in there one day. It might make you late for class. God forbid. I wonder if she had him over for dinner. Gave him some good shit to eat. Oh, that's right. He was a lower economic class. She only liked boys that were a higher economic class. Ah, yes. They have to be specific. There has to be boundaries, right, ladies? You got to be discriminating. Which little boys you invite for dinner? Bevel Conway. He had it lucky. I wonder what she served. Was it like Hannibal Lecter? Little pieces of his own brain? Ugh, it's so disgusting. And then my 12th grade lit teacher, boy, she wanted to keep hold of me. I wrote a quick exegesis of a poem she gave us on the first day, and boy, she thought I was gifted. I immediately transferred classes. Thanks very much. I took computers instead, or film or something. So, thank you. Best decision I ever made. She was basically a cougar. You know? And, yeah, that's high school. That's women from K to 12. Keep me away from the females. Boy, they're hungry for male flesh. Institutional sexual predators. I've met young girls in the local community who are very theatrically inclined and clearly very used to flirting with their male teachers and finding some response in kind. So you wonder, what are they all learning? Eh? What are they all learning, do you think? Lower their inhibitions? For what? Why do you have to lower your inhibitions to be a big adult? To be a powerful mommy and daddy? Your powerful jobs and all your respectable ways of talking and eating and insuring your vehicle. You listen to your radio shows of the government. You know about the big things going on television, because that takes real smarts. Oh look, the economy's dashing its way to the bottom of a bare economy. You see that, honey? There's lots of red and blue colors, and when I watch, I feel like I'm smarter than I really am. Oh, that's good for you, honey. As I see red and blue on the barber's pole. Red and blue, red and blue. Spring and winter, yay. Mutual annihilation, yay. Blah, da, 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 da. Okay, so, yeah. Creepy. I had a former principal try to prey on me one day. I was walking down the road, and I guess I didn't look assertive enough. He's like, "Can I help you?" And started walking towards me. He was a former police officer. I said, "No, thank you," and just kept walking. No, you've helped me enough. Thank you, sir. Mr. Perry. The vice principal's name was Mr. Perry as well. But it was spelled differently. So he told us that I'm shaped like a pear. My name is spelled that way. Right? He's shaped like a pear because he's really a woman. He's amazing. Right? Thick neck. And I had a high school teacher who was the father of one of my sister's best friends. My sister is a narcissistic sociopath, and her best friend and my brother became chiropractors. Mr. What's his name? I can't remember his name. You know what? He had really no bearing in my life. Mr. McLuhan or something. McClellan, that's it. No, that was a film teacher. It was like some sort of Scottish, Irish name, I don't know. Oh boy, was he a genial human being. Good looking too, you know? Good looking young daughter. Right? They're friends, they're all predators. Aggressive. See, you have to be an engineer, you have to be a chiropractor, you have to be a doctor. But along the way, you have to really be a doctor. To really believe that you are this person. You have to play the role. Okay? It comes with a language and it comes with role playing. Okay? That's what makes it all work. The currency of economics is the currency of the voltaic potential that is set up in a way that is in contravention of natural dynamics of the nature of the solar and celestial biology of human beings. That would, if they were availed of a truly free life, have the potential to live to 160 years every lifetime. But you take on these roles, there's a kind of leverage is created that vaults you into an extraordinary order of identification of your role in life, along with your professional accreditation. Right? Teachers will admit that when they go into the classroom, they're actually putting on an act. Right? They lower their inhibitions and they strut into the classroom. And you've got your 30, 40 faces turned up to them. And they're putting on a show. Right? The show must go on. So it's not just what you pick up. Like I could do the studies, but I didn't pick up the body language. I didn't emulate the falsity and the leisure demand of what I was being shown from day to day, teachers. And I fell through those cracks. I wasn't a good actor. When you're not a good actor, they're given the role of the scapegoat. And because to not be in this world is to be healthier than it. But to be good for this world is to be well, in the sense that you're well in a sick world. If you're not well adjusted, you're not well adjusted to a sick world, what are you? Well, better than the people who are well adjusted to a sick world, who then presume to be new, and then try to help you, and that makes you sicker and sicker, right? Because they give you a role, and it's not one you enjoy. Because it makes you sicker, it tells them that they should have more and more influence over your life, and they send you to doctors, and pretty soon you only have relationships with people able to control everything. Because in a sense, you're constantly paralyzed about being anything else. The only way you can really be yourself is when you're by yourself. So I'm a writer, I become a poet. I use my voice in isolation because no human relationship has afforded me the ability to converse in a manner that I find becoming of a human being. Now I finally got to crap. I gotta find things to do now. It's coming out of my hands already. Well, I talked about sharding myself, so now I get to do the little thing. That's the thing about walking all day when you gotta really do. Hot flash of thunder, thundering in your hands. You shark yourself in your hands. It's in my hands to shark myself. Do. Oh man. Because you can't just go anywhere, right? It's like if I was Fifi the dog, I could just go right here.